Good afternoon, everybody.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
Welcome to the channel. My name is Josh. If you're new to the channel, this is Normal Guy Supercar, and this is our dealership, NG Supercars, where today we are going to work on this 458 that has a problem with the board inside the steering wheel, which causes all sorts of electrical issues. So if your shift lights aren't working, or you get electrical system failure on the dash, or your turn signals stop working, or your bumpy road button stops working, or any of that stuff, we're going to fix that today, and I'm going to show you how to do it.
Here we go.
For those of you that don't know, when this happens, it tends to happen after the car's been sitting for a little bit. Once it turns on and gets warmed up, for whatever reason it stops. I don't know if a solder joint or something is broken or what the deal is, but here's what happens. You'll see. See, we're getting the flashing lights here, and even in sport mode or race mode or whatever, don't pay attention to those errors because I've got the bumper off. But you'll see electrical system failure. There it is, right there, that one. And the lights just keep blinking, and you can see like the everything's flashing, and eventually it'll stop, and the car actually drives fine. It'll be stuck in wet mode, like see, even if you change the Manatino, nothing changes, but eventually it'll stop. So what we have is a new board here for the steering wheel. Here is the piece that we're going to replace. This is called the NVO board. It controls all the stuff on the steering wheel. It's got a bunch of stuff on it, a bunch of plugs and stuff. So we're going to take the steering wheel off, take it apart, replace this board. These come pre-programmed from the manufacturer that we get them from. We do sell these on our website. There's a link in the description so you can pick one up if you're having this issue. And I'm going to walk you through how to fix it. First, we're going to disconnect the battery, take the airbag out, take the steering wheel off. We'll bring the steering wheel over here, take it apart, swap this board out, and then put everything back together, and hopefully that'll fix the problem. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you got to take the airbag out, and it's held in with two Torx screws. You got to take this rubber thing out of there, and then you're going to get a T30 security Torx, so it's got the little hole in it, and you're going to stick it in there and undo both sides. Before you do this, you're going to want to unhook the battery right there. Just unhook that and get it up out of the way. And there's the other side right there, that little cover. Just take that off and take both those out. All right, I got both of those loose. The airbag just comes out like that. And you got to disconnect these two. Get a really small flat head and you can pry up these little things here. Pry them up and they'll kind of wiggle out. Just like that. And then you've got your airbag out. Then we're into the steering wheel. You can see the board right there. There's where all the harness is plugged in. So we're going to take the steering wheel off. So you have this black cover over the nut that holds the steering wheel on. That just pops out of the way. All right, so we got to get this nut off. It's a 24 millimeter. You want to make sure your steering wheel is perfectly straight when you take this off, because when you put it back on, you want it to be straight. You'll see a little line on the shaft right there. This line right there, just that points straight up. Hold the steering wheel with one hand, use the tool with the other one. I'm using an extension on it, and just undo that. Okay, we got the nut off. There's a washer behind it. Steering wheel is completely loose. These two airbag harnesses are going to get fed through that hole. You're also going to want to unplug this right here. And when you pull the steering wheel off, wiring is all going to stay there. And you just kind of fit it through this hole right here. I'll try to show it on the camera. All right, as you can see, get the wheel off and you're going to just feed these through there. Kind of hard to do with one hand. You got to use a pick to get this unplugged. We're going to pull those through and then we'll have the steering wheel off. And you see the clock spring right there. All right, we got the steering wheel on the bench. We're going to start taking it apart. This whole piece is held in there with friction. And you're going to have to disconnect all of these little harnesses here before you do this. But the way I found out easy to do is you turn the steering wheel upside down and you kind of put your palms like this on both sides and then push down very slowly because it's really on there good, and then it'll slowly start to come out. So I've got mine kind of loose. I'm going to take it all the way the rest of the way out, and you're gonna have to be careful none of the wires get stretched, but I'm gonna unplug all of those as well. All right, as you can see, I got it loose. Now we just have to disconnect those plugs, and then it should come all the way out. All right, we got this piece out. I'm gonna take this opportunity to take all these buttons off and refinish them. Now we've got to get to that board. Looks like we take those screws. There's a screw there, screw there. Looks like 4 Phillips, and it looks like it should come apart. We'll see here in a second. I got the 4 screws out. Looks like this plastic piece comes off, so you have to remove these ribbon cables, and they're kind of in these little channels you can see. So they've got this cable and this one here have to come all the way out, and then this should lift out, and then we should have access to that board. It's funny how the simplest things can be so annoying. Getting those cables out of the little grooves they were in was a pain in the butt, but just be careful because they're real thin. You could break those wires pretty easily, I feel like. Now that we have access to the board, I'm just going to unscrew 2 Phillips, it looks like, unplug that ribbon cable, unplug these cables here and swap it out. All right, we got the old board out. So it was just the Phillips there, and a tiny Phillips like right there. Unplug this ribbon cable here, unplug the 2 harnesses, and then it has these little plastic tabs. You press those and it pops right out, and then we'll just swap this back in and put everything back together, and we should be good to go in theory. All right, got my buttons redone, got everything reassembled, got the new board in there. There's the old one. Not sure exactly what goes bad on these. I'd have to test everything and see, but something goes bad on here. Anyways, we're gonna mount the steering wheel back in. Remember, it's T30 Torx for the airbag and a 24mm socket for that. You wanna make sure you get the steering wheel nice and straight, tighten that down. You gotta feed those airbag and clock spring cables back through this hole, and then get it back on the car. Let's go. So you just gotta feed these through that hole, and then we'll slide it back on and bolt everything up, and we'll test it out. All right, we got the steering wheel back on, fed the 2 airbag harnesses through. This is gonna plug into that. We've got our washer and our nut here. 24mm again, slide the washer on, slide the nut on, torque it down as good as you can, and then put the airbag back on, and that's it. All right, we got it all back together. Getting the screws back in the airbag's a little tricky. I guess my advice on that, if you can't get it lined up right, is to push on the airbag while you stick the screw in, because what happens is it kind of pushes it out a little, and get them started on both sides before you tighten it. So I got the battery hooked up, everything's back in place. This is the first time I'm going to turn it on. If I have a bunch of flashing lights here, then it flashes once and then it shouldn't flash again. I'm still going to have a bunch of codes on the dash because I've got the bumper off, but let's see what happens. So far so good. I think we're good. Sweet. Code's gone. Problem solved. So that's how you do the NVO board on a 458. We do sell it on our website. Check it out. normalguysupercar.com. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to email us. And until next time, check out our website, normalguysupercar.com for parts and services, ngsupercars.com for our car dealership. Hopefully this helps somebody out there.